welcome to this new video for my channel, The Mental Traveler. I'm Caro Herrera, and today I'm going to be talking about a historical novel called The Romanov Empress, written by C.W. Gardner. The Empress the title refers to is Maria Feodorovna, whom I guess is best known for being the mother of the last Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II, and thus a grandmother to his children, among them the famous Anastasia. Before I begin though, I want to say that if you're not familiarized with what happened to the Romanov dynasty, this will be a video with spoilers. As you've probably guessed, this novel tells us about the life of Maria Feodorovna. It begins when she's around 14, living as a Danish princess, and follows her as she meets Queen Victoria, knows love and loss and love again, all that at a young age. It then follows her into her marriage, motherhood, and when she's a grandmother, her work as a Tsarina, as a sister, as a friend, as an entertainer, as a hostess, and we get to see the dusk of the splendor of the Russian Empire before World War I and the revolution erupted. Overall, we follow Maria until her death, and it's quite a harrowing journey, and those last years are just brutal. I was crying my eyes out during the last chapters. I already know what happens, but seeing it through Maria's eyes, trying to get into her shoes, her mind frame in that last decade of her life, it's just tough. I give the novel a 5 out of 5 stars review, and I highly recommend it if you like the Romanovs, if you're simply interested in learning about a legendary life of a really amazing woman, or if you like history, even though this is historical fiction up to a point. But yeah, the book is simply written and it's not a biography full of facts. Instead, the author tried to get into Maria's head and gives us this charming narrative that starts almost like a fairy tale and gets darker and darker as the cloud of revolution starts to hover over all the Romanovs. If I liked Maria before I read what she'd done, now I highly admire her. She was such an entertaining person to get to know. I could relate to her more than once, and she did so many good things for Russia. She was a great Tsarina, and I always found myself supporting her decisions because she had common sense, and yet she was charming, smart, she loved to party, she was sensible, she had gumption. Also, I thought the author did a great job of getting into the mindset of who Maria might have been. Before I wrap up this review, I want to mention two more things in this section. First, thanks to this book, I learned a lot more about other members of the Romanovs. For example, I learned that Nicholas II's grandfather had this really interesting love affair with a girl decades younger than him, that he married her the same year his wife died, and then there's even this movie with Romy Schneider playing this girl, and even though I don't know German, I watched it because that was the only version I could find. Also, while I did know that Nicholas II's younger sister had emigrated to Canada and lived there until her death, I wasn't aware that I had some connection to her. For the first half of 2018, I was living in Toronto, but it wasn't until I left that I remembered the Grand Duchess Olga. So I researched her life as soon as I finished The Romanov Empress, and it was a deep blow to me to learn that she died in this little apartment less than 5 minutes away from where I was living. And I was shocked that the last Grand Duchess of Russia, whose family I adore so much, died in such reduced circumstances, and that today there's not even a plaque commemorating this place. I mean, I walked dozens of times before this house without a clue of what it would have meant to me to stand before it for a little time, let it all wrap in and sort of mourn her. I am a royalist, and I've been fascinated by the British royal family and other monarchies since I was 16. The Romanovs are some of my favorite royals, and while Nicholas II wasn't the best ruler, I do love him as a family man. I've been fascinated by his story for years. These last decades of the Romanov ruling over Russia really intrigued me, and I also like the bittersweet connection Nicholas had with George V of England and Kaiser Wilhelm. Sweet because they were all related in one way or another and were friends, but sad because of how it ended. World War I is my favorite period in history, and in a way the Great War was fought between these three men, so that adds another layer to my interest for it. Anyways, I've also always liked very specific queens. For example, I admire Queen Mary of Teck, but I also like Marie Antoinette and Anne Boleyn a lot. And while I've never been that fond of Alexandra, Nicholas II's wife, I do like up to a point her love story with her husband. At one point though, I stumbled upon the life of Nicholas II's mother, and I instantly like her because of her feisty personality and because of her love story with her husband, and I think she's been one of the best consorts in history. But yeah, as to her husband, she was so pretty and petite, and he was so strong, almost burst size, and yet they loved each other so much, and apparently Alexander III never had a mistress after he married. Sadly, there aren't that many movies or books focusing only on Maria. Sure, it's understandable because her son, the last Tsar of Russia, for the revolution, that may draw more interest. But I still think Maria's life was fascinating, and I wanted to read for ages this book about her called Little Mother of Russia by Corinne Hall, but I just can't find it anywhere, not even as an ebook. But yeah, I had no idea that the Romanov Empress was being written until a month before it was published. So as soon as it came out, I bought it and eagerly read it, and I was very excited because I was finally getting a more detailed glimpse into the life of an extraordinary woman who did so many important things, but whom history doesn't really remember that much. Maybe she's remembered the most in the general culture as a grandmother of that famous cartoon/musical of Anastasia, but that never really happened because Anastasia didn't survive the revolution. So it's sad that Maria's legacy is mostly, in a way, centered, again, in the cultural sense of the word, in a fan fiction of her last years. But yeah, for the moment, this is all I have to say about the Romanov Empress. Thank you very much for watching my review of it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you did or if you didn't. And I would love to talk about Maria Feodorovna with you or her family or the events of the revolution or of Imperial Russia. So please feel free to fill that comment section below. Also in the description box you can find a link to the novel's Goodreads page. And well, I'm Carolera, the Mental Traveler, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.